On the phone with me is from Victoria, British Columbia, is Alan Drengson, Professor Emeritus of Philosophy and an Adjunct Professor of Environmental Studies at the University of Victoria in Canada. He works in Eastern philosophy, comparative religion, environmental philosophy, and cross-cultural technology studies. Amongst his many publications are his books, Beyond Environmental Crisis, The Deep Ecology Movement, and the Practice of Technology. Founder and former senior editor of the journal The Trumpeter, Journal of Ecosophy, and founding editor of the journal Ecoforestry, Professor Drengson is also a practitioner of Aikido and loves wild dancing and mountaineering. Hi, Professor Drengson.
Hi there, Simon. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good.
Well, to begin, what is the global deep ecology movement? Is it? I've heard it described as a religion, or and also as a philosophy. How would you describe it?
Well, I use a description that was originally offered by Professor Arne Næss, who is a Norwegian mountaineer and scholar in his 90s now. And back in 1972, he gave a talk at a conference on the future of research in Bucharest, and that's where he first described the deep ecology movement. And he had been inspired by Rachel Carson's book, Silent Spring, and other writings by her, which led him to see how things are interconnected. He had an appreciation of field ecology from her work and also from his own experience. And he also had traveled extensively and met with lots of people, and he had been a social activist in the peace and social justice movements. And so he had already been studying grassroots movements. And so he saw what happening in the early 70s was the emergence of a global movement for ecological responsibility, similar to the peace movement and the social justice movements. Now, with both of those movements, we all appreciate. We have people from all kinds of different cultures, nations, speaking different languages, and so on, supporting certain general principles related to peace and nonviolent resolution of conflict and to issues of social justice. Mm-hmm. And he saw the same thing happening with respect to an ecological responsibility, namely the emergence of a global movement at the grassroots level composed of people from all kinds of different cultures, religions, philosophies, personal lifestyles, and so on, who are concerned about the impact of human activities, and especially high technologies, that is, industrial technologies, on the natural world. And so at that time, he was trying to carefully distinguish between what he saw as he called the shallow ecology movement, which is mainly concerned to look at primary events such as, smoke coming out of a tailpipe and say, well, we've got to clean up this pollution or we've got to pick up this literature. Right. Whereas he saw another deeper questioning kind of movement in which people are looking at the interconnections of their values, their lifestyles, their philosophies, and their impact on the natural world, and how to organize their own personal lives in such a way that they minimize these impacts and maximize quality of life. That's a long-winded answer, but in a short answer, deep ecology movement is similar to the global movements for peace and social justice, and is supported by people from a variety of cultures and philosophies. And it is not itself a philosophy, but a loose set of principles.
Now, so what are these principles, or what are the core tenets of deep ecology?
Well, Næss and others describe them in terms of 8 principles, and if you're going to distill them, I suppose the simplest way to describe them would be the following, that we recognize the intrinsic value or the inherent value of all living beings, that we recognize the intrinsic value of diversity and complexity, and that includes human culture, life philosophies, and so on, as well as forms of life. And that we appreciate that human impacts on the natural world are currently excessive and not sustainable, and this includes then concern for lessening those impacts, and that has to include, of course, some concern about responsible reproduction. Many nations in the world have a balanced population in terms of their resources, and that we shift our focus from standard of living kinds of measures of progress to quality of life evaluation, which brings in a whole range of other kinds of values in appreciating life quality, and that this constitutes or requires major changes in some societies, not necessarily in all, since there are over 6,000 languages in the world and probably that many cultures. A lot of these cultures do live in some kind of ecological responsible balance with their ecosystems.
Right.
And whereas some major industrial nations, as we all know, have an ecological footprint that is many times that of other cultures. So if we look at it from a global standpoint, obviously what's required in different places will be different. And so local solutions, are committed to global responsibility at the same time.
Right. So there's an emphasis on context and place, and
yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Well, what is ecosophia or ecosophy?
The word we pronounce the word ecosophy.
Ecosophy.
Yeah, and it's coined from the ancient Greek words ecos, from which we get the word for economics and ecology, which means the place or household place. Economics is the measure and study of the economy of the household place, or that's sort of the general idea behind economics, actually, originally. And so ecos is the place of the household, and Sophia is the ancient Greek word which meant wisdom. Mm-hmm. So when you put those together, then ecosophy is living according to ecological wisdom, and that then implies some kind of harmony with the natural world in your place. Mm-hmm. And since each of us lives in a specific place, Arne Næss thought that each of us would probably have our own unique lifestyle that would, of course, be within a particular culture or religion or world philosophy that's not a religious philosophy. For instance, his own philosophy is based more on Spinozan. And
is that ecosophy T?
Well, yeah, his personal philosophy he called ecosophy T, and he contextualized it by using the word T because T is short for Tvergestein, which is the name of his mountain hut in Norway. But it's also the name of that little place in Norway. So he said, okay, here's my experimental, tentative philosophy of life worked out over a period of years in this particular place. And, of course, it is very sparing in use of water and all kinds of things because there's no ready available fuel there, and the water is often in short supply or frozen, mm-hmm. and so on. So he realized, we can't all live according to this philosophy of life, and each of us has our own unique and creative ways to respond to the world.
Now, how is that diversity negotiated? Is that through the 8 principal tenets? So how is the unity maintained despite the focus on the individual and the emphasis on the individual?
That's a good question. As he envisaged it originally, he saw platform principles of global movements being supported by people from different cultures and philosophies and religions. As representing a certain kind of global consensus. So, for example, through various negotiations and treaties and agreements in global forums of various kinds, such as the United Nations, we work out things such as the Earth Charter. And so then there are these broad principles which are often stated in a few major languages, such as English, which is one of the most universally used languages, to negotiate these kinds of agreements. And then these agreements, these general principles, are taken back to local context, and then they attempt to interpret them and translate them into local languages and apply them locally. But, of course, what happens is that with any principles such as for peace and reconciliation, there's no specific formula that you can use everywhere exactly the same way. Everywhere you go, you have to modify and adapt it to that particular situation. Mm-hmm. And so what he was describing is what, in fact, is happening around the world. As time goes on, trying to develop principles of reconciliation and nonviolent communication, we find great variety of adaptations that people develop, which of course is an expression of local genius. So there's all kinds of ways, for example, to solve problems related to energy and energy use, other than relying on single sources at the mega level, such as just having nothing but oil-based or coal-based type of energy source. If we go about it in highly localized individual ways, then every person, for example, in my area, could be an energy producer. They could produce actually more energy than they consume. We could create communities and buildings and so on that actually give back benefits rather than simply putting bad things in the environment and taking huge amounts out, valuable resources. So the point is that when we develop our own personal philosophies of life and our own individual unique lifestyle and so on, we can be guided by looking at such principles of social justice, world peace, deep ecological responsibility, and so there's sort of a back and forth dialogue taking place in a multitude of ways around the world between different, attempts to reach global consensus and at the same time have highly diversified complexity at the local level. Mm-hmm. So part of the problem, and one of the things that has struck me over the years, having been involved in the environmental movement and going back to the very beginning of this back in the early 60s, is one of our problems in the West in particular is that we tend to think that there's a single, one giant solution for everything. Everybody's got to all do the same thing. Mm-hmm. But what Næss recognized, and I think this was part of his genius, because he knows so many different languages and has lived in so many different cultures and is such a high, placed such high value on individual freedom and respect for the individual, that he appreciated a long time ago how through local genius and adaptation we can develop tremendous diversity of cultural responses that nonetheless are solving certain broad global issues and problems. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I've explained it very well. In some ways it's... But anyway, getting back to so if we, as soon as we get free of thinking that there's one solution to, say, the energy problem, like the carbon, increasing carbon in the atmosphere, there's a multitude of solutions out there.
Okay,
and it's practically unlimited once you go to the level of complexity and diversity and local adaptation and so on. You see, once you empower individuals to do all kinds of diverse things, such as having electrical meters that run both directions, things like this,
If I could just jump in here, we're almost out of time in this interview, but
Yeah, sure. I'm running on and on about this.
That's fine. In about 30 seconds, if you could just describe what is the state of deep ecology in Canada? Do you see this as an emerging principle here?
Well, if you look at the Global Earth Charter, you'll find most of the deep ecology movement principles are in that Earth Charter. And if you look at what's been happening in different places in Canada over the years, we find that these basic principles are being incorporated in more and more documents and initiatives that people are taking. For example, in British Columbia, we have a whole range of initiatives related to biodiversity. And well, now I learned not too long ago that the BC Hydro, which is one of our main suppliers of electricity here, now, in fact, will let local homeowners be electric power generators. So now you can enter into agreements with them to generate electricity on site through photovoltaic or whatever means, small scale, and this is credited against your account, and as you generate more electricity than you consume, for example. And any example of this sort where we have more and more sort of downscaling and appreciation of local adaptations and respect for multiculturalism and so on. So I see these principles as being incorporated in a wide variety of ways.
Well, Alan Drengson, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
And we've been speaking with Alan Drengson, Professor Emeritus of Philosophy and Adjunct Professor of Environmental Studies at the University of Victoria.